What's up, you guys? Welcome to a new video, and in today's video I'm going to break down the real status of the dating game for men here in 2025. Okay, so on my phone here I brainstormed a number of different points that I'm going to break down over this. I need you to stay with me till the end, because I'm telling you, if you watch one video about dating in 2025, this is the video to watch, because the landscape is completely changing and a lot of the information out there is not taking this into account. And we need to understand some basic stuff here about dating so we can have success. And I want you to have success as a man in 2025. Now, before we go forward and really dive into this, I want you to understand the wiring of women and how women function. Okay, it's very important to understand this so you understand the creatures you're working with. So for a long time, I used to think that women didn't make any sense and they were this like elusive thing to understand. They were so confusing, all that typical stuff, and I'm sure you feel the same way. If you could just grasp this one concept, you will understand women very easily, okay? Women, are selectively hypergamous. What does this mean? Okay, this means that women are always going to date up. They want to acquire the highest value mate that they can get. Okay, they want this for their genetic material for their children. They want this for their resources that these offspring and them have access to. Okay, so if they can do better than you, they're always going to try to do better than you. All right, this is a very important part of this, right? Because this is going to set up everything else I talked about. Now, it's important to understand that in today's world, the top 10% of men are going to get 90% of the attention, okay? And the majority of the women in this world are competing for the most high value man's attention, okay? You can think about how this played out in your high school, right? I'm sure there was a guy or multiple guys that played sports that were really successful. They were the quarterback or the captain or whatever it was. And it seemed like they did the best with women, right? They either had the hot girlfriend or they had all the girls that they were hooking up with and they were getting with. Why? Well, because in that social circle, that man is that top 10% or top 1% of the men within the tribe and the group of the social environment in high school, okay? Now, I need you to extend how that works beyond high school into life. Whenever you go into any environment, a gym, a workplace, whatever it is, this same thing still exists. I need you to understand that, okay? This isn't just something that existed in high school. This exists everywhere, okay? Women have a ability to see how a man carries himself with confidence and power and strength, and they can sense that out, all right? So they're always looking for that no matter where they go. Okay, they have a sixth sense for that. So just understand that. So I need you to understand how this applies to the next point I'm gonna make here, okay? We live in a highly validation-based culture. You could see this with social media, okay? So women are always gonna date up in terms of social status, right? So they want to, again, secure the most socially vibrant, most socially respected, highest value man that they can. Okay, so the way this pertains and acts out in the modern world we live in, is that women are going to use your social media as a metric for this. That's just the reality, okay? So when a man, if you have to compete with a man that has, hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, or let's say even tens of thousands, and you have 100, right? And you don't have much of a presence and you don't have much of a social presence as is on social media or in real life or whatever, you are competing against the other men that she can see and that she has access to, okay? And this goes into dating apps and everything, where there is endless options and choices for both men and women, but this definitely applies to women with you, because they're always gonna be judging you and measuring you against the other men that are out there that they can see and that they have access to, all right? And remember, they're always seeing these other men in a curated feed of their, highlights and their best successes and their strength and all that different stuff, okay? As we know, social media is not real life. They are going to be looking at a curated, real or curated set of pictures of these guys and how they are, okay? But understand that this is very important for how you're perceived by women, okay? So you as a man, you're gonna be judged by not just your follower count, but what kind of lifestyle are you living? Do you have luxury? Do you have social proof with other men that respect you? Do you have a following? of people that admire you, whether that be men that are respecting you or other women that want to be with you and admire you, okay? Women are always looking for this. They are. It's just the reality. And you can either try to opt out of this game, which goes to my next point here, or you could try to play it, okay? So a lot of men today are opting out of this entire game because realistically, they have figured out that chasing women is both expensive in terms of like emotional investment and financial investment, all right? This is something that I realized many years ago. So that doesn't mean though that you opt out of the game in that you're not pursuing women anymore or you're not open to dating. This is where a lot of guys go wrong with this, okay? The way that I've approached this and what's worked very, very well for me with women is I stopped pursuing women in that I'm not going out there chasing them. All right, I used to have this mentality where, I'd start DMing girls on Instagram and swiping on apps and all this different stuff. And occasionally I will do that. But I'll tell you what happens when you do that. You are just giving off an energy that you're not attracting these things to you, okay? So what has really worked for me is I've spent, the last decade of my life, I'm 31 years old, I spent the last decade of my life building myself as a man, okay? So what I've done is, instead of trying to chase women and pursue them, what I've done for the majority of the last decade is I've built myself with my physique, with my mindset, with my career, with my skills, okay? And what this does is this ascends you up the social hierarchy, right? And this makes you perceived as a higher status man. Okay, so for example, for me, I'm just gonna use myself as an example. I'm a top 5 national classic physique competitor. Okay, I was 2 spots from turning pro. My band has anywhere from, I'm a vocalist in a metal band, Tethra. We have anywhere from 50,000 to 150,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Okay, our music does very well. I have built a successful coaching business for myself, and I make UGC content. So my life, how I make my money is completely within my control. And I obviously do things for my personal brand, okay? I have endorsements through a clothing company, a supplement company, and a meals prep company, okay? I'm not bragging about this. I'm merely showing you that these things that I invested my time into that don't seem like they would return and have return on investment for women actually have had that. So I'm showing you this because I want you to understand that my friends who have spent all their time neglecting their career, neglecting their bodies, neglecting their mindset, that have not put time in investing into building themselves, these men now are doing worse with women than I am. And I put very little emphasis into women. Okay, I just need you to understand that. And at times that I did put more emphasis into women, guess what happened? I didn't get as many women. Okay? The reason for this is because as you ascend the status scale as a man, you start to view yourself better. This radiates into higher self-confidence, and you carry yourself with a more magnetic persona. And it's very, very important to understand this. So the way that you carry yourself when you walk into a new gym, when you walk into a coffee shop, when you're interacting with a girl like me on the beach or in a hot tub that I just met a girl the other day, right? Your persona of knowing yourself, believing in yourself, and having self-confidence and direction in your life radiates, and women can feel that. And it's really important to understand that. Now let's get into another aspect about this. I will use and call it the masculinity crisis, okay? I have heard numerous women that I've dated and that I'm friends with talk about this. Men are not men today, okay? So a lot of women are acting more like men, they're more masculine, and a lot of men are acting more like women and they're more feminine. This has completely killed the polarity in relationships. And this is what a lot of sexual attraction is based upon. The masculine and feminine polarity, okay? It is literally how we are made. This is not something that is debatable, okay? Masculinity comes from the male hormone environment and the way that we're wired as men, and femininity comes from the feminine hormone environment for women, okay? I could make a whole video about this alone. But you need to understand, if you want to attract real, true feminine women, you need to be living as a masculine man. And for a lot of men, this is not the case. This was not the case for me for a very long time. I approached relationships in life like a female until I was like 22, 23 years old. And guess what? I didn't do well with women. All right. I was pursuing companionship constantly. I wasn't directed and focused on my purpose in life enough. Right. So this is the first thing you need to understand. If you want to live as a masculine man, I'm looking at my notes again to make sure I nail this. You need to have a clear purpose and vision, or you're going to be unattractive to high value women, okay? High value women are gonna be the feminine women that you wanna be with, okay? And no matter what modern society has told you, these are the women that you wanna be with. You wanna be with feminine, high value women. They will support you in your journey. They will make you better for dating them. They won't cause you drama. They won't cause you problems. These are the women that you want to be with. Take it from me. I've been with all kinds of women, casually, relationally, and the feminine women, the higher value women, these are the ones that will improve your life and make you a better man, okay? This is only gonna become a worse problem, the dating crisis, so to speak, for men, because what's happening is that if you look at even studies on this, it's like, 80% of women want to be with 20% of men. And remember what I was saying earlier about the top 10% of men are going to get 90% of the attention, okay? So what do you do about this, right? Well, if you need to understand, if you don't become one of these higher status guys, you're going to be having a really hard time dating, okay? We were brought up in a world where, at least for me, that I was sold this idea of monogamy and that, there's somebody for everybody kind of thing and whatnot. And this has worked for people for a long time. But this only worked when women didn't have endless options and couldn't keep ascending the social hierarchy scale, okay? Especially if they're a highly attractive woman. Like, if you have a girlfriend, you need to understand, or even a wife for that matter, that loyalty isn't what it used to be. Just because you're good and you treat them kind and stuff does not mean they will not eventually cheat on you. It doesn't mean that they won't eventually leave you for a higher status guy. This applies to everybody. This applies to me, okay? This is a reality that we all need to grasp. So what can we do about this? Well, it's not about swiping more and DMing more girls and asking more girls for numbers at the coffee place or any of this shit. What it is that you need to make yourself, your purpose, your direction, building yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, you need to make that the number one priority in your life. You need to make it so that when you meet a woman, it is so obvious that you are the one she needs to be with. Like, there's nobody else that she can even have access to that would be better than you, okay? That is the kind of man you need to build yourself into. And not just build yourself into, but continually do so. I'm talking through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. This is a never-ending game, okay? It's always about improving yourself. It's not always about being the most jacked, ripped dude, okay? That's part of the thing, but that's not the whole thing, okay? And I need you to understand that. If you made it to the end of the video, I'm really glad that you've done so. I hope this has helped you. I want you to please share this video with another one of your guy friends that could use this advice, because we need to help our brothers, guys. This is a really big problem that I'm seeing all throughout with my clients, with my friends, my family members, my cousins, people like this. Everybody's struggling, okay? So we need to help our brothers. I will see you in the next video. If you made it this whole way, I'm so grateful for you. Make sure you're subscribed, drop a like, and let me know what part of this frustrates you most about women. I'll see you in the next video.